What I want to do is talk about a wrongful death case involving a cyclist that unfortunately was hit and killed while he was bicycling. And I want to talk about it because on a wrongful death case, they many times can be emotionally difficult, but sometimes it's a matter of trying to find the money so that you can obtain a recovery for the grieving family. And in this particular case, the driver of the car that struck the bicyclist only had $25,000 worth of coverage. A problem was that was the only money that we could get from this person. They didn't have any other assets, and there wasn't going to be any other assets that we could obtain. So what we did was we started looking at other policies, and through our research and going through some relationships with the family, we were able to obtain an additional $350,000 in coverage. So where the claim against the driver only amounted to $25,000 simply because that's all the insurance and all the compensation that could be recovered, we did some additional digging and found additional coverage that was out there. And this was very meaningful for the family because it was very nuanced in the policies that we had and saw, and we showed that there should be coverage on that. And ultimately the insurance company relented and took a $25,000 claim and turned it into $375,000, which was very meaningful for the family that had lost the family member on a bicycle. The way that we obtained more coverage on this was to look at policies that may cover a person in the victim's position who had been struck and killed as a result of a negligent driver. And what we did is we looked at family members' policies and where he lived, and we call it resident relative, but we determined that he should be covered by existing policies of a family member. And in fact, after going through the evidence to show that, where he resided, where his mail went, and looking at the policy and comparing it to the requirements, the insurance company agreed with us and ultimately decided to pay with us after we provided the proof to show that he should be covered. So the $25,000 policy that was the only amount that the family could recover went up an additional $350,000 only because we were willing to go through all that information, discover that additional coverage, and provide the proof to the insurance company that they needed to pay for that they needed to cover that. And that was a time-consuming effort, and it was very, very rewarding for us to get that additional money for the family. I think what this case tells anyone is that it's very important for you to get an attorney that understands the insurance policies, because there can be underinsured motorist coverage, meaning the driver of the vehicle that caused the death didn't have enough insurance, and you're entitled to more compensation. And sometimes it's uninsured motorist coverage where there isn't any coverage from the driver that caused that. So the victim's family in this case was able to use some underinsured motorist coverage, and we were successfully able to convince the insurance company that that coverage should exist for the victim who had been killed on his bicycle by the driver.